Well, two powerful storms could ruin travel plans for millions of Americans trying to head home for Thanksgiving. AAA expects more than 49 million Americans will hit the road, the most since 2005.
CBS News transportation correspondent Kris Van Cleave has a look at how drivers in Boston are gearing up for the holiday rush on the roads.
Giant Thanksgiving storms are pummeling roads across the U.S. and snarling air travel with thousands of delays and cancellations.
It's busy. There's delays all over the screen.
Rain and wind will bear down on parts of the east and west coasts as traffic hits its peak this afternoon, more than tripling drive times in Atlanta, New York, Los Angeles, Houston, and Boston.
People should be extra careful.
Massachusetts State Police have stepped up patrols. Lieutenant Anthony Deere knows Thanksgiving means more cars, more traffic, and more accidents.
Watch this vehicle here, this white one. Twice he's crossed over and jerked back.
I just did it again.
Yes.
He spotted this SUV swerving on the Massachusetts Turnpike.
License registration, please.
The driver, Glenn Holmes, got a warning. He was heading to Thanksgiving in Connecticut.
So what was going on there? I was trying to adjust the volume on my Audible.
On the rails, this is Amtrak's busiest season. College student Jada Hines is heading to Old Bridge, New Jersey.
Boston's really hectic to get home from Thanksgiving.
TSA expects a record number of flyers, 2.7 million today alone. United Airlines CEO Oscar Munoz says planes will be fuller in part because of the grounded 737 MAX.
It's going to be crowded. There are going to be many people who are flying that don't normally fly. So a little patience, a little empathy always goes a long way.
All right, Kris Van Cleave is one of those travelers preparing to face the Thanksgiving traffic. He's in Worcester, Massachusetts, on the road, got a seatbelt on.
He was sort of like looking out the window. It's like we snapped him back into, you're not actually on vacation here, Kris, you're working.
Wistfully looking out the window, humming Simon and Garfunkel's America.
He's like,
I was trying to play on the road again, but the crew nixed it.
Oh.
So, Kris, we do these stories like I feel like every year. Anne-Marie gets annoyed that I say these stories could be from 1987, but we really
Pack your patience.
We really are seeing record number of travelers on the road this year, and now we've got this major storm that could impact over like 250 million Americans.
Yeah, you're seeing the most people driving since 2005, the second most since AAA has been tracking, the most people flying. Expect to be a record year in the skies, record year on the rails. So you are seeing more people traveling this year. Some of that's due to low gas prices. Some of it's due to a relatively good economy. And I guess people legitimately miss their families. So they're making the trek. We've got a solid 8 hours left in ours, but so far so good.
Yeah, we're seeing a shot of your front window there.
Yeah, that doesn't look so bad right now, right?
Yeah.
You're zipping along.
You're moving.
Yeah.
You're zipping.
Yeah, we are at or above the posted limit. I won't tell you which, but we're moving along just fine.
So, what are the worst and the best times to hit the road then?
All right, so right now is a pretty good time to get on the road if you're leaving today. You have missed the morning rush hour, at least on the East Coast, and you're getting on the road before the evening rush. In most of the major cities, when we're talking about Getaway Wednesday, the worst time to be trying to start that drive is between 4 and 7 p.m., and that's because you get rush hour traffic in the major cities, plus everybody who's leaving, and you can see travel times just go up almost exponentially, double, triple, sometimes more than that. At the pace we're going, we're likely to hit that real intense traffic as we're approaching Washington, D.C. So we'll see where we are when we get to the CBS Evening News with Nora O'Donnell tonight, but I suspect we will be sitting in traffic as we're approaching Washington by the time we get to the broadcast this evening. So that's certainly the worst time to leave. Another good time, depending upon how long your drive is, tomorrow morning is a good time to drive. People tend to not travel a lot Thanksgiving morning, so not a bad morning to fly, not a bad morning to drive.
All right, so here's some news I think folks can use. When it comes to GPS, using a GPS shortcut is probably not a good idea when you're dealing with snow, Kris. Why is that?
Right. So if you're in a situation like our Don Daler is today, and you're in Minnesota and there is snow all over the place, GPS may not know that a road has been blocked off or is impassable. And if you're coming off the interstates, you don't know what you're driving into. And maybe a secondary road that hasn't been plowed, you don't want to drive yourself into trouble and get stuck, particularly in the middle of a storm or in the middle of the cleanup of a storm. In these cases, it's almost always better to just stick on the interstates. Those are going to get cleared. The Department of Transportation in those states are going to have plows out working to clear the major arteries first, and then they get to primary and secondary roads. So it's best to stay on those major roads when you're dealing with severe weather. And I think the other thing to think about is slow down. If we're talking about snow and ice, you may not see the ice on the roads until you hit the brake, and then you're sliding. If it's raining, that can impact stopping distance. So give yourself some extra time, slow it down a little bit, and that's really the best thing to do. Right now, we've been fortunate. We haven't seen the rain come in yet. It is in the forecast later today. That will certainly slow us down.
Good advice. Kris Van Cleave on the road again. We'll check back in with you a little later, Kris, to see how far you've gotten.